We are having a conversation this morning with the Chester County Administrator, Brian Hester. He's joining us to give us an update about what's going on there in Chester County. Good morning to you, Brian.
Good morning.
Good
both
morning.
of you.
Yeah, morning.
Well, you've had a big day there in Chester County. You brought all the top brass from Columbia to Chester for a major economic development announcement, and we'll let you take it from there.
Well, thank you, Lucas and Ashley. And yes, we did. We had a big day yesterday in Chester. It was really our first announcement of industry coming to Chester this fiscal year, which is hard to believe, kind of. And it doesn't seem like we're already in June, but, last year we had $1.97 billion in investment in Chester. And so we've had a lot of activity, economic development activity, but this is the first real industry to close thus far this year. And this one is really interesting. Princeton New Energy, and they are one of a kind process and industry in our nation. And they are going to recycle the lithium-ion batteries, and they're going to do it from, when I say recycle, they're going to do it all parts of the recycling, and so there's different parts. I am not a scientist. I have listened to these talks, and I've been to the really cool thing is I went out to McKinney, Texas, and visited their pilot plant, or where they were putting this process together. They're out in New Jersey, but they had a plant in McKinney, Texas, very small plant, and took a look at their process to really understand it. But basically, what they do is recycle every piece of that battery, just about. And for something that we in our country right now do not have a process for, we rely on other countries to do what they're doing. Not only are they going to do the process here in our country, and it'll be the first, it's very clean. It's what they call green tech. And so it is very clean, it's very safe, and it basically keeps 70% more of that material out of our landfill. And it reduces the cost of the process or the cost of the materials that they recycle to 40% for companies that are using the recycled material. So it's really neat, and I can't really explain it all, but I will tell you this. When I went out and looked at the facility they had in Texas, what amazed me the most is I saw the evolution of their process. The reason we went there is because we were concerned, we want the right type of businesses in Chester. We want safe businesses. When you start talking about lithium batteries, recycling, the dangers, the fire hazards, and the things that can come with when you start to accumulate items like that, and it's not really easy to put fires out with those. But when we looked at their process from a safety standpoint, they exceed anything that we could have imagined and what they told us. So on that front, we were very satisfied. The other thing was the process itself. I was amazed at the owners, the scientists. These guys are all way smarter people than I am. And they created this process from scratch, created the machinery. And you see the evolution of their machines. Here's how it started. Here's the next set of refining of that process, and then the final where they were. And it's really unique to see how they take all those different parts out of those batteries. They call it, the black mass, the lithium-ion, the cathodes, and they recycle every ounce of that and get it back into use. So it was really neat. It's a small project. When you talk about projects of kind of scale, it's $11 million investment initially with 41 jobs, but the jobs all pay 15% above what the national average pay is, which is really good. The second part is they've applied for a Department of Energy grant. If they get this Department of Energy grant, which we will know in August, then they will expand to a $250 million investment, and that they'll have two phases of this project, and then the jobs will expand to over 100. I can't remember the exact number. I want to say around 140 jobs.
Go ahead.
So right now it's $11 million. If they get this grant, it would go from $11 million to $250 million investment there in Chester County.
That's
and
correct.
Double the amount of jobs as well.
That's correct.
And these lithium-ion batteries, these are the ones that are from electric vehicles, consumer electronics, for example, energy storage batteries. Hence why you were talking about catching fire. We've heard of cases like on an airplane, right, where a lithium battery device has caught fire,
Right.
or somewhere in someone's house. So that's good.
And you don't
that
just
you're
put
thinking
water
about.
on them. It sometimes makes it worse.
Worse. I was about to say, that sounds like it would make it worse. Now, where in Chester County is this facility going to be located?
So it's, I'll tell you.
And you can't just say the country.
Yeah, well, remember that if you try to tell me how to get somewhere in Chester, I have to use GPS because
that's
there's
okay.
so many curvy country roads still.
He's fairly new.
Yeah,
Still, so
yeah.
he
It's
gets a
off
little.
of Belt Road.
Okay.
And so it's what I call when I talk about Chester, it's closer into the bypass.
Okay.
It's not very far out of Chester. You've got your Richburg. You know, when you on Highway 9, you're going to Richburg, and then you have Fort Lawn. This is all the way into what I consider Chester. It's Chester Fire Department's jurisdiction. But it's off of Belt Road. It's in the old Sheo Nano building, which the building actually suited them very well for the process. So if they do expand, if they get that Department of Energy grant and they do expand, they're going to build another facility also on that same property.
That's great.
It's big enough for their expansion.
Great.
Has all the power they need. Obviously, the gas, unlimited natural gas, and the water and sewer supply. So we're very good in that position.
And do you know how many companies? I know it's called, again, Princeton New Energy. And yes, Princeton, it was founded out of Princeton University in 2019. How many companies are like the one that's coming to Chester County? I know you said there's one in Texas, but is there other ones, or this is pretty much going to be the two right now?
There are no other ones.
Really?
And in fact, the one, they're out of New Jersey is kind of home base. And they had a partnership with another company, and I can't think of the name of the other company up there. And that company allowed them to use a portion of their building. And then in Texas, that's where they set their pilot plant up. It's in another company has an operation, and they gave them a portion of this manufacturing facility in McKinney, Texas. And we flew out. We left at 5:30 in the morning. Our plane was delayed out of Charlotte. We landed at 11 a.m., drove an hour from the airport to McKinney, went in their facility, had lunch. They gave us another presentation, took a tour, asked a bunch of questions, drove back to the airport, got on a plane at 7 o'clock, flew back home to Charlotte, got in about 11 that night. So
All in a day's work.
All in a day's work here in
There you go.
It paid off, right?
That's right.
You got
Sure
an
did.
$11 million investment
That's
there in
right.
Chester County and 41 jobs. You sounded like a flight attendant. You probably should have just worked on the plane, to be honest with you,
You
Brian.
know.
That would have been
And
just
I'm not big on flying, so I'm just telling you.
It's not for the faint of heart, for sure. I know we're pushing up against a break here, Brian, but the Chester County did pass its budget. Just kind of bring us up to speed, the dollar amount, and what are some of the bells and whistles in there?
So roughly $34 million budget this year. And we did have our third reading. It passed all of our we added some new positions. We added a deputy director of fire. We added a EMS training officer. We added a planner position for Chester County, really
Huge.
big, which already been we've already put the job, posted it, and we've already received 4 or 5 applications for that position. That's coming really quick. We added full-time fire in Great Falls, and so there are. I'm doing the math in my head. I think we hired 9 personnel for that, and so there'll be full-time coverage, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also added 4 more EMS personnel to provide EMS coverage in our western community. We did all that with a level balanced budget, no tax increase. We did some other really kind of cool things, I think, from an employee standpoint. 4% cost of living increase across the board for all county employees. And then we did some things that maybe are a little out of the box. We created a maternity leave policy where we now, if a mother has a child, we will pay them for the first 6 weeks while they're out with that child as a bonding. And so that I think that's a big benefit. We have a lot of young mothers that come in and they haven't built up enough time to take that time off with their newborn. So that was big for us. And then the other thing we did was we partnered with Low Country Urgent Care, which is right there off the bypass in Chester. And so we went into an MOU with them, and basically the county, we're paying a flat fee to them, and so our employees can go there at no charge and receive no deductible, no copays.
That's huge.
They can go there and receive, our employees and their dependents that are covered under insurance,
That's
so
huge.
their spouses' dependents as well. So that's a very big benefit to our employees.
Keeping employees, retention there, and recruiting new ones. You have to, whether it's counties, cities, schools, you have to find ways to dangle that carrot in front of those looking for employment. And for some folks, that's a make or break, especially if they're starting a family.